On one ordinary street stand two houses, facing each other, and two men who could not seem more different. On one side, Nick, new car in the driveway, newest phone in his hand, a nod for every neighbour that says, "Notice me." On the other, Ray, older, quieter, a faded little car, plain clothes, a man most people walk past without a second look. Ask anyone on the street who's doing well, and they'll point at Nick without hesitating. Ask about Ray, and they'll shrug. The whole street has already decided. Nick is winning. Ray is just getting by. They're wrong. Completely wrong. One of these men is secretly the richest person on the road, and it isn't the one you'd guess. We're going to spend an ordinary week with both of them, and by the end you'll see the rule that separates looking rich from being rich. Start with the mistake the whole street is making, because almost everyone makes it. We treat spending as proof of wealth. Think about what Nick's shiny new car actually proves. It proves he had the money to hand over. Once. It says nothing about what he kept. And keeping, not spending, is the entire game. There is a name for this trap. Call it the wealth mirage. What looks like wealth and what is wealth are often opposites. The person waving the loudest signals of money is very often the one with the least of it left. The quiet person with nothing to prove is very often the one who owns his life outright. Ray figured this out a long time ago. He noticed that nearly every expensive thing people buy is secretly buying the same hidden product. That product is approval, a moment of being seen by others as a success. And approval is the most expensive thing a person can buy, because the bill for it never stops arriving. Nick knows this feeling without having a word for it. The new car meant he now needed the watch to match. The watch meant the furniture. The furniture meant the trips his friends would hear about. Each signal demanded the next. It is a treadmill, and the man who looks the most successful is usually the one running on it hardest, quietly out of breath. Ray never stepped onto it, not out of fear, out of a simple question he asked himself once and answered honestly. Who am I actually trying to impress? And what has their opinion ever paid me? Now watch the two cars, because they tell the whole story. Nick leases a brand new one every couple of years. A payment that never ends, always reaching for the next model. Ray buys a plain, reliable car outright and drives it until it simply won't go. Then quietly does the same thing again. To the street, Ray's car looks like he can't afford better. In truth, that car is the reason he can afford almost anything. Because the money Nick pours into looking current, Ray simply keeps. And kept money does something a driveway never will. It grows, silently, patiently, while he sleeps. Nick's money flows outward to be admired. Ray's money stays home and goes to work. Give that one difference a decade, and it stops being a difference in cars. It becomes a difference in freedom. And this isn't just Ray. Study people who have actually built lasting wealth, and the same quiet pattern appears again and again. They tend to live in normal homes, wear unremarkable clothes, and drive modest cars they keep for years. In fact, the large majority of millionaires drive used, ordinary cars. The car was the tell all along, just the opposite tell the street assumes. It was never only about cars. It's the whole quiet architecture of how Ray lives. His clothes are simple and well made, with no logos shouting their price. They last him for years without a thought. His house is comfortable and deliberately smaller than he could afford, on a street where nobody suspects a thing. And here is what people always miss about Ray. He is not depriving himself. He spends freely, just on things no one can see. On good food and his health. On time with the few people he loves. On long, unhurried mornings, he no longer has to sell to anyone. He is not cheap. He is precise. He pours money into what he quietly values and starves everything he doesn't. That's the whole difference in one word: direction. Nick spends outward to be seen. Ray spends inward to be free. And free is the word that unlocks all of it, because Ray was never really chasing money in the first place. He was chasing the one thing money can actually buy: control over his own time. The right to answer to nobody. A loud life and a free life pull in opposite directions, and almost no one says that out loud. A loud life needs an audience. It needs the raise to show, the upgrade to be noticed, the win to be witnessed by the street. The free life needs none of that. It performs for no one, and it is astonishingly cheaper to run. Underneath it all sits one piece of psychology, and it's the real lesson of the whole street. There are two places a person can draw their sense of worth. One is external, from how others see you. That is the engine under Nick's whole life. The other is internal, from how your own days actually feel to live. That is the engine under Ray's. The man who needs to be seen as rich will keep spending to be seen forever. And there's a cost to that. Nobody on the street ever adds up. So let's actually add it up. Because it was never just the money Nick spent on the signals themselves. It's everything that money would have become. Every amount spent to impress isn't only gone today. It's every future thing it could have quietly grown into, gone as well. That is the true price of looking rich. Not the number on the tag, the whole invisible future you trade away in exchange for a glance from people who forget by morning. Ray understood that trade and turned it down, thousands of small, quiet times. That steady refusal is his fortune. Now the objection the whole street would raise: isn't Ray just cheap? Isn't that a smaller, sadder little life? Look closely, and it's the exact reverse. Ray's life isn't smaller than Nick's. It's lighter, and those are very different things. He carries no debt, nothing chasing him, no image to keep up, no quiet dread of the month the signals stop being affordable. Nick owns many impressive things, but sit with the street a while longer and you start to see who really owns whom. The financed car, the stretched house, the whole life balanced on the next paycheck arriving on time. The things own the man. Ray owns his things, owns his hours, and owes no one a performance. That, in the end, is what wealth was always supposed to mean. Spoke Sedley Arthur. So, how do you use this, whatever you earn right now? It starts with the exact question Ray once asked himself. Before your next upgrade, before the next signal, ask it plainly. Who am I buying this for? Myself or an audience? I will never quite satisfy. And here's the payoff to where we began. That quiet man you'd walk past, the one the street pities, is the richest person on it. He simply declined to prove it, because proving it to strangers was the one luxury he decided was a genuine waste of money. Nick spent a fortune looking wealthy. Ray spent almost nothing and quietly became wealthy instead. One warm evening, Ray sits out front. Nothing owed, no one's employee, watching a street full of people who look richer than him and sleep worse. He never needed a single one of them to know. That was the whole rule. Real wealth doesn't need to be seen. If anything, it prefers the quiet. So the next time you feel that pull to look rich, picture the two neighbours. And ask yourself honestly, would you rather look wealthy or actually be free?